Yeah, I have an impressive CV of Jitendra Shah, who we all call Jitu, in front of me. But I think the most, everybody of you who knows him knows about his history. He was with World Bank for 17 years, working across Asia, working on environmental issues. And most recently was the country sector coordinator in the Thailand regional office. And then he moved to ADB. So I have to emphasize with ultimate strength that he's here representing ADB today. Right now, he's the advisor of the Regional Sustainable Development Department at ADB, where he's advising ADB on how to develop low-carbon infrastructure across ADB's loans and technical assistance. He's focusing on energy, transport, and urban sector, and he's also responsible for developing ADB-wide knowledge-sharing initiative, again, in low-carbon infrastructure, looking both at finance and the technical side. But for us, Jitu is someone who was there right from the beginning. He was one of the Sky Jedi Knights, for you who were here yesterday, know what I'm referring to, who set up the Clean Air Initiative almost 10 years ago, together with Corny Huizinga, who is our vice chairman, Winston Bowman from USAID, and Charles Melhuis, who was then at time with ADB. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you Jitu Shah, who we work with for a long time and who will be speaking on behalf of ADB, who we also have worked with for a long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophie, for those kind words. Robert O'Keefe, Sophie, Babette, Corny, John Room, distinguished representatives from various governments in Asia and elsewhere, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Like Sophie this morning said, I'm really excited to be here because BAQ means something special to all of us who have been working on the subject of air pollution and air quality in Asia. First, I would like to welcome and thank all participants for coming to BAQ. I also want to thank the organizers, the Land Transport Authority of Singapore, the Tourism Board, and of course the CI Asia Center. It is a great pleasure once again to join you here at BAQ 2010. ADB is also pleased to be joined by our fellow CI Asia founding members, the World Bank, the US EPA. Their financial support and technical support over the years is much appreciated. The contributions from other organizations for making this event possible is also appreciated. We congratulate CI Asia in promoting better air quality in livable city and region for almost 10 years. Actually, this is a good story. You know, everybody talks about CI Asia will be 10 years next year. And Corny and I remember that it was in 1999, with the help of Jianqi, WBI, and others, we started this process. So the conception was in 1999, and it took 2 years for us to put this organization together. Now, clean air in Asia is a good news, bad news story. Now, as you have heard this morning from various speakers, and very eloquently by Bob and Sophie, urban air quality management is a complex issue. John Room just now described all the complexities of urban air pollution. In Asia, in high growth economies, achieving air quality or better air quality is not as easy as one learns in college. We all know this. Realities in developing countries are really organic solutions. They evolve through trial and errors, depend on millions of individual preferences, and relationships all have to align in order to solve the problem. Nobody really wants air pollution. Nobody likes air pollution. And yet, as we have seen, it is very, very difficult to get rid of it. Bob told us air pollution in Asia kills thousands prematurely. So this is not up for debate anymore. This is the reality. In every possible opinion poll, air pollution ranks on top as an issue. Rapid urbanization, air pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, it will spell disaster for the region, as John just reminded us. The promising economic growth that we have seen in Asia, almost 8%, and much more over the next decade or two, will not pay off if we don't take care of this. So we feel very strongly that in order for us to maximize the core benefits with climate change, we need to do better. Now, I don't want to dwell on this too much, and I want to talk about the bright side of the story. Why should we be proud of what we have achieved? The good news is that the air quality in Asia has shown remarkable improvement, as previous speakers have said. Pollution levels are coming down in most cities. Most countries have basic standards. Most countries have emission regulations. And of course, we all had hoped for better. One needs to put these in perspective. Let me share my thoughts on why I'm optimistic. Improved air quality with exponential growth that we have seen in Asia is a remarkable thing that we must understand. This is something that we all can be proud of. The fact is that we have learned from others. We have learned from London, we have learned from Los Angeles, and we have learned from Tokyo and others. We have been able to achieve better air quality in a shorter time frame than they did. So in effect, we have been able to compress the Kuznets curve. We have been able to achieve and control air pollution at a much lower GDP than they were able to do. So this is a cause for celebration. Another good news is the role of the NGOs and medias. In Asia, the medias and NGOs, they have been great help. They have helped raise awareness. They have been able to put the agenda and allow policymakers to do this faster. Some of you may remember, I think it was 2006 BAQ, when we had a NGO training, and at that time a lot of people were wondering whether, I don't know how many NGOs and media people were there, maybe 30 or 40, were wondering whether that was worth the effort. And I can tell you honestly that that investment has paid off handsomely. Now, awareness in Asia is now very high. However, what we need to do is to turn this awareness into demand for political and policy support. The next thing we need to celebrate is technologies. Technologies have been great help, and we should congratulate all the innovators and people who have helped introduce these new technologies to Asia and for their foresights. As John also mentioned, we have delivered under pressure. For Beijing Olympics, recently also for the Delhi Commonwealth Games, we saw that air quality was improving or had improved, of course, through drastic measures. But we can deliver. Now, implementation is just beginning. While we have started with implementation and probably need to do much more, here too, things are improving. So this is why we feel that we should congratulate CI Asia and everybody in this room for a job well done. A lot more needs to be done. Now, during this week, we will focus on the future and discuss what we need to do over the next few years to improve the air quality. We have heard from Bob, Sophie, and John and others about what all needs to be done. What I would like to do is to highlight one topic: partnership, consultation with stakeholders. Stakeholder participation is not only useful and important, but it is a prerequisite for good results. Much more attention needs to be paid to consultation if we are to make steady progress. This is true in developing countries where capacity constraint and lack of enforcement are norm. Stakeholder consultation is yet another way to further compress the Kuznets curve that we talked about. Now, the easiest way for me to talk about this is through a real story. I think it was around 1995-96. We looked at Dhaka's air pollution, and we were trying to figure out how to deliver better air quality and how to control the 50,000 three-wheelers in Dhaka. They were responsible for about 40 to 50% of the pollution, and this is due to the inferior use of the lubricant and lack of maintenance in the three-wheelers. The health impact, the premature death, etc., were responsible for more than 1,000 lives, and other impacts suggested that these 50,000 three-wheelers should be phased out from Dhaka city. When we shared these findings with the stakeholders, and we told them that slowly and steadily these three-wheelers need to go, they basically told us something very simple. This is not doable. I think the exact words they used were over my dead body. Dr. Khalik Usman is here in the room, and I think he was in the meeting, so he can confirm that. This was first lesson that I learned. The stakeholders, particularly the Three-Wheelers Association, they control a large part of local political economy, and in retrospect, they were right. We were wrong. I didn't recognize this at that time, but later it was very clear. We had come up with the solution without their participation. Without their participation on consultation. So this was the very first lesson that I learned. Do not design solutions for others without involving and discussing this with them. This was the beginning of a 4-year partnership with the stakeholders, and what I can honestly tell you is that with their participation, we produced results that were not even possible to dream at that time. Over the years, we worked with all of the stakeholders, these three-wheelers, or the baby taxi as they are called, the owners, the drivers, the NGOs, media, etc. We trained the mechanics, we explained to them why this was important, and while we were looking at the baby taxi or the three-wheeler engines, we also hired a bunch of doctors to test their health. The reason we involved the medical professional doctors to test baby taxi drivers' health is to show to them that, number one, they're generally not in good health, and number two, we did their lung function test. We showed them that their lung function on average were 30 to 40% less than other people in Dhaka. So we were able to demonstrate to them that controlling baby taxi pollution was in their interest. We were as much interested in helping them deliver or helping them save their lungs and health. So this was very helpful. This brought their trust in what we were trying to do, because the biggest beneficiary of the phasing out of the three-wheelers would be the drivers. Many policies were put in place. There were new CNG baby taxis that were brought in, import tax reduction, etc. However, this was not enough. When public, including the baby taxi drivers and owners, accepted that phasing them out of Dhaka city was a good idea, political leaders were quick to show leadership. So this is lesson number 2. Political will follow if there is a public will. We need to generate this public will. After 5 years working on the subject, on January 2003, with all the stakeholder participation, all the three-wheelers were phased out of Dhaka city, and over the next month, we saw 40% improvement in air quality, something that was not even possible to dream when we started. So why did this succeed when everything else that was done before had not? In my opinion, it succeeded because we had public support for a very difficult issue, which was created by stakeholder participation and media. Public created the political will, which was very important for the policy change. Stakeholders also became a good external monitors for implementation because capacity in the government organization wasn't there. So the dream outcomes are possible if you work with stakeholders, and that's why I wanted to emphasize stakeholder participation today. Now, ADB is ready to help all the countries, all of us, to breathe clean air. ADB Strategy 2020, as well as various sectoral plans, they recognize that climate change mitigation coupled with air quality management is necessary to meet our development objective of sustained economic growth, MDGs, and poverty alleviation. ADB has recently developed a sustainable transport initiative to align its transport operation with Strategy 2020 and provide technical and other resources to build the lending and technical assistance portfolio. ADB will also establish a sustainable transport partnership facility to promote its implementation. ADB also has a city development initiative, and ADB is exploring establishment of pilot financing schemes such as Asia Clean Energy Venture Capital Initiative. Now, ADB supports the carbon market initiatives, which delivers carbon credit to fund investors, and has a $250 million clean energy financing partnership facility, which promotes the deployment of new, more efficient, and less polluting supply and end-use technologies. ADB is also working with the Clean Investment Fund, the Clean Technology Fund in many countries in Asia. Now, yesterday, Masa talked about ADB's Clean Air Scorecard tool, which will also help the cities. So in conclusion, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the climate change and improved air quality challenge are far from over. We need more than quadruple our effort as we start to feel the brunt of the climate change impact. It is time we stopped using our lungs to filter the air, especially that of poor who live and spend much of their time by the side of the road. Let polluters pay for the cleanup. This BAQ can serve as the platform wherein we continue to improve our understanding of concrete and specific solutions through partnership with all stakeholders. I wish you all a stimulating and productive conference. Thank you very much.